YouTube is LMERicoTv, man. I'm back with another video, man. Y'all see what we got going on, man. Kid Nerd dropped a video titled The Untold Gang War in Central London, EC1 versus N1. So you guys know what time it is, man. If you're brand new to the channel and you've been watching videos on the channel but not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button right now. As y'all see, I'm on the grind to 7K, and hopefully I hit that very soon. Also, don't forget to smash that like button. Also, don't forget to turn on post notifications so you guys get notified when I drop new videos. With that said, though, man, I'm gonna go ahead and start the screen record. That started, and we starting this vid now.
There's always debates on the most dangerous side of London, and depending on the year, it normally alternates between east, south, north, and west. But no one really tends to put central London in that category. Today, we'll be getting into a deadly war between two neighbouring areas in the centre of the capital. A feud which many wouldn't notice at all. Let's get into the video. Nowadays, central London is packed full of expensive restaurants, tourist attractions, and the ultra-rich who can afford to live so close to the action. But it wasn't always like this. During World War II, central London was heavily bombed by the Germans in efforts to destroy Britain's public morale, leaving much of London destroyed, and resulted in many families sending their children to the countryside, which wasn't as affected. But after World War II, a lot had changed in London. There was a big industrial decline, leaving many factories and businesses in central London which had not been destroyed empty. The local government decided instead of leaving these buildings abandoned, they would turn them into cheap council estates, where people who had been left homeless from the Blitz, and also immigrants who was brought into the country to rebuild it, could live in. The government also strategically built these council estates near where the wealthy would live, to prevent London's pre-war issue of social divide, in hopes that the rich and poor would integrate with each other more. These low-income houses bred quite a bit of crime in the 50s and 60s, with organised crime firms using these estates as pretty much headquarters to play out their illicit activities, while specific sides and areas in London had their own gangs that would control their territories. One of the biggest firms coming from central London was the notorious Clerkenwell Crime Syndicate, which was an organisation set up by a few brothers who were said to be the most powerful crime families in the UK ever, controlling much of London's drug market mainly in the 80s and 90s. Their territory was in the EC1 postcode, right in the centre of the capital. Nowadays, many council estates near the centre of London have either been demolished or hit with a massive spike in rent prices to force low-income families to move out. But the EC1 area still has quite a fair bit of low-income neighbourhoods floating about, like the Bourne and King Square estate. But long gone are the days of crime families ruling over EC1. A new gang has now emerged, who go by the name Easy Cash or just straight EC1, which is made up of a few different estates around the area, who all have separate but linked up cliques. The Easy Cash gang started hitting headlines in the early 2010s after catching multiple different cases for numerous high-scale robberies, ranging from higher-end jewelry store heists to car theft. In fact, the street just outside EC1 called Essex Road was actually ranked the third highest in the country for vehicle theft. Essex Road is in the N1 postcode, a postcode which also has a few different cliques which
told to not park in the area because of how bad it is for this specific crime. So that's just crazy, man. But with that said, though, let's get back to the vid.
Linked up, mainly in the Essex Road, Cali Road and Hoxton, which have all had a long-lasting feud with the nearby postcode EC1. This feud all started after a pub dispute between two young men. It was April the 14th, 2010 when local football rivals Arsenal and Tottenham were facing each other. This was a big event in the area, with the majority supporting either Arsenal or Tottenham. Many pubs and bars were full of fans watching the game. One of these pubs being on Cali Road, called the Thornhill Arms. A 20-year-old man called Sam Fitzgerald was at attendance this day alongside his older brother. But while his older brother was at the bar ordering a drink, Sam stepped out the pub when he saw another man across the street he had issues with in the past. After a few words between each other, a one-on-one fight ensued, with both men trading punches towards each other in front of a crowd full of people outside the pub. But the fight would take a turn when 22-year-old Anthony Leder would strike Sam with a golf club, breaking the club in two. Anthony then proceeded to stab Sam with the broken club.
Man, y'all can't even really trust throwing a one-on-one outside no more. Like, people ain't really fighting fair anymore, so it's like you can't really trust that anymore. You just pretty much gotta have that mindset that somebody is not gonna fight fair and that anything can happen at this point. So with that said, man, it's just dangerous out here for real. So no, I wouldn't even risk getting in a one-on-one for real, just because you never know if the other side is gonna keep it fair and keep it at that. But other than that, man, let's get back to the vid.
Causing a fatal wound that unfortunately would take Sam's life. Sam was a loved and respected young man in his area, and many people from the N1 postcode, especially Essex and Cali Road, grieved his loss massively. It's not exactly clear how, but Sam's death caused big frictions between groups in EC1 and N1, causing a lot of back and forth issues between the group of boys, which started getting more and more violent. This was at a time between 2008 and 2015, when many younger kids living especially near Essex and Cali Road started jumping on the roads. Both areas had quite a tight-knit community, but a couple high-profile murders left many traumatized from the area. The first being the murder of 16-year-old Ben Kinsella in 2008. Ben was the younger brother of successful actress Brooke Kinsella, who some may remember played the character of Kelly in EastEnders. Ben, just like Brooke, had aspirations of acting and even featured in a few small roles on television, but unfortunately these dreams were cut short on the 28th of June 2008. On this day, Ben was celebrating the end of his GCSE exams with a couple friends at a local pub. The friends he was with and another group of young men got into a verbal altercation at the pub, which resulted in Ben being stabbed 11 times while he was walking home, an attack which he sadly didn't survive from. Another traumatizing event occurred also just a month.
That was crazy. Like, hearing about some of these cases that happen out there is just some of the most gruesome for real, just because knives and blades, etc., is involved in a lot of these cases. So with that said, just still hearing them talk about them is just, you just know it ain't good for real. But other than that, let's get back to the vid.
Before the murder of Sam Fitzgerald, which was the murder and assault of one of Sam's friends called Jessie Wright. Jessie was a 16-year-old schoolgirl who was assaulted and murdered in cold blood by another man who lived in the area. These events in a short period of time left a lasting effect on the young N1 community. Many of the older figureheads in the area started campaigning for change through many peaceful protests and talks to the government, like Ben Kinsella's family, who set up a charity called the Ben Kinsella Trust, which actually managed to pass through a law to raise the mandatory life sentence for knife-related murders from 15 years to 25. But while the older generation were trying to put a stop to the violence, the younger generations were starting to ignite it. Spouts of violence were starting to become more and more common between EC1 and N1 groups, and it wasn't long before another tragedy was struck once again. It was the 27th of February 2015 when 15-year-old Alan Cartwright was riding his bicycle through Cali Road with a group of his friends. But what they didn't know was lurking on the pavement was a group of boys from EC1 waiting for them to ride past. When Alan and his friends got close enough, the group of boys cornered them and managed to tackle two of Alan's friends, stealing their bikes in the process. But Alan and one of his other friends managed to flee the scene on their bikes.
And this all
Alan continued to ride his bike
4K
until he got
too.
outside the nearby swimming pool, where he stopped and suddenly collapsed, not realizing that while he was riding his bike he had been stabbed in his chest by one of the boys. By the time paramedics came to the scene, sadly there was nothing they could do. Just like a lot of other deaths in the area, Alan's murder
And the
got a
way
lot of
that happened, you couldn't even really tell in the video just from watching it unless somebody pointed it out. So that's crazy right there for real. But let's get back to the video.
your attention, especially after Alan's sister made an emotional appearance on the Jeremy Kyle show, talking about how much damage Alan's death done to their family. And when CCTV footage of the murder was posted on YouTube, many people expressed their frustration with the increased frequency of knife-related murders across London. One of the boys accused of being involved was 18-year-old Joshua Williams. Around a week after the murder, alongside his parents, he handed himself in, with his mum telling an officer he was involved in in the murder. But when it came to trial, he had a different story, claiming he was at a youth club instead. This was quickly shut down by the judge, finding him guilty and sending him to a minimum of 21 years. This was also one of the first known cases in the UK where a YouTube comment claiming Josh to be the perpetrator was used in evidence. Now, the EC1 and N1 postcodes both span through multiple boroughs, being Islington, Camden and Hackney, and with each borough having its own issues and politics, EC1 and N1 are in the thick of all of it. Both gangs have different alliances and rivalries throughout the boroughs, and one of these rivalries between N1 and another gang in Hackney called Red Pitch turned fatal in 2015. Red Pitch are a gang in between both Islington and Hackney which used to have a big reputation for violence. The feud between them and N1 escalated in the summer of 2015. It was June the 10th in Nightingale Park in Islington. The weather was hot, kids were playing in the field, and a 17-year-old from Essex Road called Steph was enjoying the nice summer's day with his friends, not knowing tragedy was round the corner. A stolen scooter started riding through the park in the evening, with a couple teenagers on the back and front screaming RP in reference to the Red Pitch gang. When Steph and his friends saw them, they started to disperse outside the park, but unfortunately while making their way out, Steph tripped over, leading to one of the boys jumping off the back of the scooter and stabbing Steph twice in his leg and chest with a zombie killer knife. Steph was rushed to a local hospital, but unfortunately he didn't survive. The boy suspected for the attack was a 17-year-old called Blaze Lewinson, who was actually in between GCSE exams while the attack played out. After hearing news about Steph not surviving the attack, he fled to Bristol and tried to book a flight to Spain, but it wasn't long before he was caught and found guilty. This was at a time when a lot of change was coming to London. On the back of London's 2012 Olympic success, tourism to the UK took quite a sharp increase, and now pressure was on for inner city boroughs to start taking action on the crime plague in the city. Islington was one of these focuses, which makes sense considering EC1 and N1's gang war is literally taking place in the middle of some of London's biggest tourist attractions and nightlife. So the borough set up a program for the youth called the Islington's Integrated Gangs Team, which is essentially a system which connected known gang members around the area with multiple lines of support, pairing them up with mental health specialists and job opportunities for any that will take it, while also sometimes taking youth offenders out of their comfort zones, sending them on trips out of the city to experience that there's more to life than what's going on in the area. There's no doubt.
How they at least try to find a solution for the younger people, just because of the simple fact a lot of these kids, they growing up in some tough lives for real. Some of them ain't got their parents, or they coming out the trenches and not really able to afford some of the things that other people are able to afford, whether it be materialistic things, food, etc., etc. So it's just pretty much hard on the younger people that's pretty much growing up, because at the end of the day, they still kids and stuff. So it's not like they can just go out here, get a job, and then move away, etc., and make their life better. They just gotta grow up through these circumstances because of how young they are, obviously, and gotta still live with the people that's supposed to be pretty much taking care of them and making sure they are good. But look at the background they come from. So a lot of them don't really have too much choices for real, and some of them just unfortunately have to grow up in these circumstances and do what they see is shown to them on a daily basis. They can't just sometimes be like, oh, I can go ahead and do the opposite of what I'm seeing around here, because at the end of the day, their brains and stuff, the way they're developing, is not processing like that. So people can't fault them for pretty much doing what they are usually seeing on a daily basis from their life anyway. So with that said though, man, it's just, like I said, good that they at least trying to show them different, show them that it's more to what they're used to seeing in a daily basis, no matter where they're coming from, etc., etc. So with that said, man, hopefully this did, I don't know if they still doing it now, but hopefully it is really helping some of these kids and really helping them change their life around, or get out of or keep away from going down the wrong path in life. So you guys comment down below that's from there. Y'all let me know if this program is actually helping them or not. And pretty much if you do know anybody that's pretty much went through this program and if it helped them, et cetera, et cetera. So with that said though, we're gonna get back to the vid. The vid is almost over. But with that said, let's start back now.
That the program probably had good effects on a few individuals, but with a string of violent attacks yet to soon follow, it was clear that it was going to take a lot more to defuse the ongoing feud. The 25th of February of 2017 was en route to be a normal Friday night in Islington. Like every Friday, many flocked to Upper Street in N1 to live out their weekend on a street full of bars, clubs and restaurants. One of these people being a 28-year-old father of two called Jonathan McPhillips, who was enjoying a night out with his friends. Parked up on the same road was also a few teenagers from Essex Road who knew Jonathan from the area. But as the night was coming to an end and people were starting to leave the clubs and bars, trouble was lurking round the corner. Just after midnight, a group of masked boys from EC1 were walking through Upper Street and they were heading straight for the car full of Essex Road boys. An altercation broke out between the two groups in full view of the busy street, leading to one of the 17-year-olds being stabbed. In the midst of all the madness, Jonathan saw what was going on and attempted to break up the fight between the boys. But while trying to stop the fight and prevent anyone else from being hurt, Jonathan was stabbed in the chest, which gave him a wound he...
I know that we got some people that are trying to help make things better, but sometimes, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but it's just, you gotta mind your business, because at the end of the day, the way stuff is right now, you shouldn't even put yourself in a situation to be in harm's way, because at the end of the day, like they've been showing throughout the video and telling all these different cases and stuff that's happened, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're trying to help knowing that anything can happen as far as a knife attack or a gun being pulled or any type of weapon just in general being pulled out and used in these type of situations. So with that said, man, if y'all see a big fight or even if it's just a little fight between somebody, don't even try to break it up, because at the end of the day, you don't know how that's gonna play out and you don't want to be the wrong person in wrong time. Like, you don't want to be the wrong person at the wrong time type of shit. Like, but other than that, man, let's get back to the vid. The vid is almost over.
Not survived from, sadly causing another big loss to the community. Musically, both sides have had small stints in the UK drill scene. Back when UK drill was still fresh in the first half of the 2010s, a rapper from EC1 called MJ was making a fair bit of noise on the scene. He was known to make regular disses towards the N1 groups in his tunes, but eventually moved out to America to pursue his dreams of playing football. Cali Road also had a drill rapper coming up called Rashi, but his career wouldn't last long after being sentenced to 27 years after an attempted murder on a 16-year-old. But probably the most promising rapper to come out of the beef was a rapper called Cillian from EC1. He burst on the scene with his single Talk of the Town and drummed up a lot of attention due to him not looking like a stereotypical drill rapper. His song Talk of the Town also had a lot of eyes watching in this area due to a fatal stabbing of another young man called Nedim from Cali Road just a few months before his release, which a few boys from EC1 were originally arrested for. But Cillian kinda jumped off music a few years ago after a video of him leaked on Snapchat denying he's involved in the beef. Nowadays the situation between the two areas has slowed down quite a bit. Gentrification has forced many families to move out to the outskirts of London, and with heavy police presence and CCTV cameras around central London, most people who are still keeping this feud alive don't end up lasting long before being sent to prison. But with so much deep history and hatred between the two areas, it will be highly unlikely for the violence to completely stop anytime soon. Just before Christmas in 2022, another young life was lost, this time a 16-year-old boy from EC1 who went by the name of Jams. He was brutally stabbed to death, delaying any possible peace on the streets of central London. It's been your boy Kid Nerd, and peace out.
Yeah, that's pretty much the end of the video, man. RIP to a lot of these people that lost their life through this whole thing, man, just because it's crazy out there. But with that said though, man, that's pretty much the end of the video. Don't forget to smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you guys haven't already. As I said earlier, I'm on the grind to 7K. Hopefully I hit that very soon. Also, don't forget to turn on post notifications, and also don't forget to comment down below as well. And you guys comment down below what other videos which y'all want to see me react to from the UK, etc., from these sides or any other side that's out there doing their thing. You guys comment down below any videos, or whether it be music or a video like this one. But with that said though, man, that's the end of the vid, and I'm gonna catch you guys later on with more. So stay tuned. Peace.